The year 2020 was a challenging year for all of us because of the COVID-19 pandemic that shook all sectors of the society. We began facing difficulties like adjusting from the new normal, missing countless opportunities, losing jobs, and sadly, even losing people we love. I know that we may never fully bear the pain this pandemic has inflicted upon us, but we continue to tread on. Because of this, we can say that every one of us are heroes in our own right. It is during this period that we are able to manifest the values of resilience, faith, optimism, compassion, and the true meaning of public service. Although our movements are very limited, we at the DILG, along with our partner government agencies, employed alternative means to communicate and continue providing effective and efficient public service. There were unavoidable bottlenecks on the successful implementation of our programs, projects, and activities, yet we delivered, true to our promise of becoming a matino, mahusay at maaasahang lingkod bayan. Because of this, it is only fitting that we recognize the tireless efforts of our DILG Tarlac personnel who remain dedicated in performing their tasks. Join us in watching the following video that highlights the achievements of DILG Tarlac for the year 2020. Let us all stay safe as we continue to brave COVID-19.
The year 2020 has brought a lot of new challenges to local governance as we are heavily stunned by the COVID-19 pandemic. Many of us are currently thinking about how we could contribute to overcome this extraordinary situation. The COVID-19 crisis does not only challenges disease control and crisis management, but also it has a long-term and far-reaching impacts in our society. In the midst of the pandemic, we are undoubtedly tested to carry out our mandate despite all the challenges that the pandemic had brought. But we stick with the department's motto, matino, mahusay at maaasahan sa anumang panahon at anumang pagsubok. DILG Tarlac stood firm and remained rising above the situation. As a response to the pandemic, DILG Tarlac activated its Provincial Emergency Operations Center, which is tasked, among others, to receive reports and accomplishment on LGU compliance to government guidelines on COVID-19. We also facilitated and monitored the dissemination and compliance of related DILG memoranda to local government units. The provincial office made sure to provide assistance in the implementation of relevant COVID-19 activities. Following the passage of Bayanihan Act 2, the department took the lead in the hiring of contact tracers across the country to aid the LGUs in immediately identifying all close contacts of suspected, probable, and COVID-19 cases. Of the 50,000 slots, 450 were given to Tarlac based on the population and severity of cases in the province. As a call of public service, the office also boldly monitored the compliance and enforcement of IATF directives and other national government policies and issuance despite the threat of the virus. Despite the pandemic, the DILG Tarlac and its supporting agencies pushes through and remains resilient and continues to provide efforts through its various social programs and activities. For the next hour or so, we will look back to some of the defining accomplishments of the department for the fiscal year ending 2020. At the pinnacle of the government's pronouncement of public health emergency and imposition of community quarantine through the enactment of Republic Act No. 11469 or Bayanihan to Heal as One Act on 24th of March 2020, we at DILG Tarlac issued and disseminated 100% of COVID-19 related DILG memoranda to local government units. 100% of requests for technical support and or secretariat services to the RITF acted upon within the prescribed period. We also monitor the compliance of LGUs with the various preventive and response measures undertaken by the national government pertaining to the containment of COVID-19. For the FY 2020, 19 or 100% of the LGUs monitored in their compliance to community quarantine reports, and in additional, the monitoring of the inbound and outbound returning overseas Filipinos and locally stranded individuals are continuous.
The FDP portal supports the implementation of DILG Memorandum Circular number 2010-83, in which it enables the public to view, download, and print LGU financial documents to allow their constituents to understand how their local governments budget and spend for public services. And in view of the MC number 2010-83, the DILG Tarlac reported 100% or 19 LGUs are fully compliant in posting to FDP portal and 3 conspicuous places in the AOR. And as of reporting period, 511 or 100% out of the 460 barangays targeted for this quarter are compliant in barangay full disclosure.
DILG Tarlac, through the online platform Tarlacayan, initiated a discussion on constitutional reform or CORE. It aims to deliver a wider range of audience the proposed amendments to the Philippine Constitution. Cluster team leader and Tarlacayan host Fortunato Abraham III led the discussion with CORE National Resource Person and Expert Professor Alfredo Soreta Jr. and CORE Movement National Chairperson Attorney Vicente Homer Reville. DILG began to roll out CORE in 2019 with the hope of eliciting support from various groups including local chief executives, barangay officials, and members of the media.
Performance Challenge Fund is an incentive fund in the form of financial subsidy given to LGU passers of the sale of good local governance, which can be used to fund and implement development programs and projects. Despite of the challenges that the pandemic has caused, the status of the implementation of all PCF projects are still being monitored virtually due to the pandemic. Advisories, letters, and memoranda was sent to all concerned LGUs to ensure the continuous implementation of the program.
After the initial wave of the implementation of road clearing in 2019, the DILG has developed the implementation of Road Clearing 2.0 in 2020 on barangay implementation in tertiary roads. In DILG Tarlac, road clearing operations of all local government units in the province are monitored every first week of the month through submission of Annexes A and B to give local chief executives sufficient time to focus on addressing the pandemic. The campaign took a backseat until it was resumed in the middle of November.
With the issuance of the DILG, DTI, and DICT Joint Memorandum Circular on the baseline data gathering for upgraded business processing and licensing system, initiatives for streamlining business processes were rolled out in the province of Tarlac. For the fiscal year 2020, 100% of the LGUs are compliant with the requirements of the business permit and licensing system. All LGUs have submitted their quarterly reports. Subaybayan is your one-stop shop to monitor a DILG-initiated projects like the Salin Tubig and assistance to municipalities and some integrated projects like the Conditional Matching Grants project.
The DILG Tarlac has properly monitored its 26 spillover projects for the FY 2020 under the Assistance to Municipalities program. The DILG locally funded project team also resumed the physical monitoring of these projects and also provided technical assistance to ensure that the standards were met. The DILG Tarlac also conducted an insight monitoring and inspection of the Sagana at Ligtas na Tubig para sa Lahat Salin Tubig 2020 project located in San Clemente, Tarlac that provides potable and safe water supply to the communities in the area.
For the FY 2020, there are 34 completed projects associated with the Assistance to Municipalities program, of which 25 pertains to rehabilitation and construction of local access roads, 2 with regards to improvement of water systems, and 5 with successful procurement of emergency vehicles. Started and completed projects under the fiscal year 2020 includes the local access roads upgrading in Barangay San Roque of Anao and Barangay Bilad of Camilin. Through the hard work and dedication of the team, the DILG Region 3 recognized and awarded Tarlac as the province with the highest submission rate of AM requirements for the FY 2020.
Moreover, all conditional matching grants to provinces' projects for the fiscal year 2020 were properly monitored. The CMGP team of the province of Tarlac has also conducted several on-site monitoring to ensure the veracity and correctness of the reports submitted by the contractor. Among the CMGP projects that were completed within the year 2020 includes the rehabilitation of provincial roads, Lawi Armenia of Capas Tarlac, Paniki Moncada via Ventinilla of Paniki Tarlac, San Manuel Mayang Matayum-Tayum of La Paz Tarlac, San Isidro Sinait of Tarlac City, and Care Viriaglipay Provincial Road of San Jose Tarlac. The DILG LFP team also monitored the achievement of governance reform targets of the province of Tarlac through a series of consultation meetings. And because of the persistence and dedication of the team to these programs, the DILG Region 3 also recognized the DILG Tarlac as the best implementer of CMGP, second best provincial office in the updating of the Subaybayan portal, and second best provincial office in the implementation of locally funded projects for the FY 2020.
The Lupong Tagapamayapa Incentives and Awards is a joint program of the DILG and the Department of Justice that gives recognition to Lupons that exhibited exemplary performance in amicably settling disputes among barangay constituents. The DILG Tarlac also discussed and addressed frequently asked questions and concerns about the LTIA through Tarlacayan, a DILG Tarlac produced talk show that aired September 15, 2020.
In the threat to peace and order posed by criminality, insurgency and subversion requires the dedicated efforts of all government officials and citizens. Thus, the Peace and Order Council is organized on the national, regional, provincial, city, and municipal levels of government. And in compliance of the implementation of the Peace and Order and Public Safety Plan, Policy Compliance Monitoring System, a system used to monitor the compliance and accomplishments of LGUs on their Peace and Order and Public Safety Plan, the DILG Tarlac successfully monitored and evaluated 90 or 100% LGUs in their compliance to the encoding in POPs PCMS and in the physical and financial accomplishment in the POPs plan for the FY 2020. Memoranda and advisories for the status update were also sent to the LGUs and field officers. In response to the growing radicalization in the country, and as a contribution to the global efforts in preventing and countering violent extremism, the National Action Plan on Preventing and Countering Violent Extremism and Insurgency was crafted. And in the recent events, the DILG Tarlac targeted 3 barangays for this program, namely Barangay San Isidro Tarlac City, San Nicolas Balas Concepcion, and Santa Barbara Victoria. They were all provided with IEC materials. Moreover, 1 wreath and token were distributed to the family of killed in action Major Jesse Miller of Capas Tarlac.
In order to strengthen counterinsurgency efforts, the President issued Executive Order No. 70 Series of 2018, which institutionalizes the whole-of-nation approach in attaining inclusive and sustainable peace through the creation of the National Task Force to End Local Communist Armed Conflict. The DILG is the lead agency for the ELCA cluster on sectoral unification, capacity building, empowerment and mobilization, initiated a workshop consultation on December 21, 2020. Discussed in the said activity were the institutionalization of sectoral participation mechanisms, strengthening of LGUs as convergence areas, and continuous collaboration with the priority sectors in the community. The said program aims to be the platform that empowers LGUs to resolve governance gaps related to land tenure, wages and collective bargaining, regulation affecting livelihood, ancestral domain, unaddressed grievances, inequities and discrimination, transportation difficulties, rising prices of basic commodities, health and sanitation, and corruption. The Servicio Caravan, a service that brings delivery of services to the people, primary issues and concerns, will be addressed.
DILG plays an important role in creating gender-responsive LGUs with its provision of technical assistance on mainstreaming gender and development in local plans and programs. Through GAD mainstreaming, gender issues are addressed, roles of both men and women are recognized, promoting gender equality. DILG Tarlac, despite the pandemic, successfully monitored the compliance of 100% or 19 LGUs on the Magna Carta of Women, particularly on the maintenance of GAD database and GAD mainstream comprehensive development plans.
Republic Act 9262 or the Anti-Violence Against Women and Its Children Act of 2004 and the Republic Act 9208 or the Anti-Trafficking in Persons Act of 2003 was enacted to protect the family and its members, particularly the women and the children, and to give the highest priority to the enactment of measures and development of programs and services that will promote human dignity and protect the people from the threat of violence and exploitation. The DILG plays an important role in creating basic standards on the creation and functionality assessment of local committees with regards to the anti-trafficking in persons and anti-violence of women and its children. DILG Tarlac for FY 2020 successfully monitored 100% or 19 LGUs functionality of its local council for the protection of children. 100% or 19 LGUs also have functional LCAT BAUSI. Furthermore, all barangays were also monitored for the functionality of their barangay council for the protection of children, and all barangays also have functional BAU desk.
With Tarlac as one of the 5 provinces that are called to adhere to the continuing mandamus of the Supreme Court decision to clean, rehabilitate, and preserve the Manila Bay watershed areas, the DILG Tarlac monitored the compliance of the 6 LGUs that are within the Manila Bay area to the Supreme Court mandamus, the inspection and inventory of commercial establishments, factories, and private homes, adequate wastewater treatment facilities, and septic tanks. LGUs with local shelter plans, relocations and resettlement action plan, local interagency committees, and local council against squatting syndicates and professional squatters were also monitored. And with great pride of the DILG Tarlac, to report that Tarlac City was recognized as one of the provincial top performers on city category and the municipality of Bamban in the municipal category in the 2020 Manila Bayani Awards and Incentives. The city and municipality both garnered the high compliance score of 90% and above. Tarlac City and Bamban was able to achieve such feat because of their approved 10-year solid waste management plan, materials recovery facility, practice of segregation of wastes at source, practice of segregated collection of wastes, disposal of residual wastes in approved disposal sites, and existence and formulation of no littering and similar ordinances implemented from city, municipal to barangay levels.
The DILG Tarlac conducted the reorientation on rapid damage and needs assessment and post-disaster needs assessment on December 3, 2020, initiated by the Office of the Civil Defense and the Regional Disaster Risk Reduction and Management Council. RDNA and PDNA are under the Operation Listo Advocacy Campaign program of DILG, which aims to strengthen disaster preparedness of LGUs.
In order to suppress the COVID-19 pandemic in the country, the national government, through the Department of the Interior and local government, hired 50,000 contact tracers nationwide to help immediately identify the close contacts of confirmed COVID-19 patients. Out of the 50,000 contact tracers nationwide, 450 slots were given for Tarlac. DILG Tarlac immediately hired 450 contact tracers to beef up the LGU's tracing capabilities by augmenting their manpower required to immediately identify close contacts of confirmed COVID-19 patients, thereby preventing the spread of the virus. Right after the screening and the deliberation process, the DILG Tarlac, under the leadership of the Provincial Director Belina T. Herman, conducted 2 face-to-face trainings for the newly hired contact tracers in the province on October 19 and 27, 2020 at the Bulwagang Kanlahi and Bulwagan ng mga gobernador respectively. During the series of the trainings, PD Herman provided an overview and discussed the guiding principles of contact tracings in the country, which she described as a crucial element that LGUs need to adopt to suppress the transmissions. She also emphasized that the whole of government approach is needed to properly implement the national policies in the LGUs. The trainings came after Tarlac completed the initial target of hiring 450 contact tracers who will be deployed in their LGUs.
DILG Tarlac Provincial Office sought court psychological assistance from Ms. Kila Celine Manakil to help assess their mental health status and provide inputs to help ease stress and anxiety amid the COVID-19 pandemic last September 1, 2020. During the conference with the field officers, DILG Tarlac Provincial Director Belina Herman stressed the importance of keeping our minds and body equally healthy in gearing for longer battles against the virus until the rollout of accessible and effective vaccine. It was said in the episode that being stressed during this time is as common as the new normal everyone is trying to adapt to is overwhelming. Being frightened and uncertain of the recent events affecting the globe is also normal, but there are some ways to help people go through the situation. She shared common symptoms of mental distress and mentioned some tips on how to ease our mental and physical pains. DILG ultimately wished the people to be able to adapt and help others adapt with the new situation.
Despite the unprecedented changes brought to us by the global pandemic, the DILG Tarlac welcomes 2021 by ensuring programs and approaches that are sensitive and in line with the new normal, by building the capacity of the LGUs to cope and recover from public health crisis. The DILG Tarlac ensures to continue the promotion of safety and security of the Tarlaceños to become component associate in governance, to provide continuous training for our field personnel, and to cater the needs of communities in the needs of emerging health, peace and safety threats, and to further strengthen the department's internal capacity and effectively fulfill its mandate. We promise to continue to be your matino, mahusay at maaasahang kagawaran.